Oh, I make myself laugh. That's what it's all about. Alright there, you little demons. Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and awfully hosted Choose Your Own Adventure, the weekly medieval themed format where I, the Crown Jewels of WhatCulture.com, take a list chosen by you. Yes, you, the person who at the time of recording has just come back from Gamescom, and my god, was it a blast, my friends. I got to see so many new games, I got to speak to so many luminaries of the industry, and best of all, I know that you'll appreciate this, because even though I know that you're here to watch about video games and stuff, you're thinking to yourself, what strange thing did Jules get up to? Bought a collectible 1980s frog. It's called Crota. He's a good luck charm. That's it. This is my highlight of my trip. I know it sounds weird, but you know. I'm just gonna put it in Sagan's bed here. He'll appreciate that. He has not appreciated that. He immediately woke up. Yes, you get to decide what list I dole out to you each and every week, and this week we have none other to thank than Lionheart for their suggestion of video game leaks that changed everything. So this is the thing, my friends. Today I want to talk about leak culture, and no, it's not just going to be a video on living in Wales. Now, a video game leak is very different to a spoiler. A spoiler obviously means that you're working with the people on it and you get the ending spoiled, but a leak, well, that's just because somebody's been a bit careless and left something somewhere that they shouldn't have, or sent the email to the wrong person. And in the case of these games here, well, it changed their trajectory immensely. So let's have a chat about them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video game leaks that changed everything. Number 8, Splinter Cell Conviction. In September 2006, promotional materials for a new Splinter Cell game, eventually revealed to be Splinter Cell Conviction, were leaked online. These images showed protagonist Sam Fisher with long hair and a scraggly beard, implied a greater emphasis on action over stealth, and would also incorporate gameplay mechanics from Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed franchise, such as the ability to blend in with a crowd. Now, the immediate fan response was, big pitch, how would you describe this? Atrocious, he says. And that's being kind. And when Conviction was formally unveiled in May 2007, it confirmed the leaks to be totally legitimate and only further fueled an already irate fan base. The sustained negativity seemingly led Ubisoft to delay Conviction from its November the 16th, 2007 release date, with reports suggesting that they went back to the drawing board. When we saw Conviction again at E3 2009, Sam looked a lot more like his usual self, and the game resembled a far more traditional Splinter Cell sequel, much to the fans' delight. Now, it ultimately released 2 positive reviews, but had Ubisoft ignored the furore from the original leak onwards, their more casual skewing iteration of the game could have very well flopped and killed the entire franchise. Number 7, Deus Ex Human Revolution. Now, though Square Enix probably won't ever want to admit this, they most likely have a leak to thank for the commercial success of Deus Ex Human Revolution. Now, there was considerable skepticism about the sequel's ability to live up to the original Deus Ex leading up to its release. But in June 2011, less than 3 months before the game came out, a large preview build was leaked online. This build, intended only for the press, contained an estimated 10 to 12 hour chunk of the game, and the reception from players who tried it was overwhelmingly positive, enough so that droves of fans loudly announced that they were now pre-ordering Human Revolution. Square Enix swiftly caught and sued the alleged leakers, yet the leak played such a huge part in shifting the general fan sentiment leading up to Human Revolution's release, and almost certainly contributed to the game's sales success and Square Enix beating their commercial projections for that quarter. So maybe they should have said thank you? Probably not though, because it was still probably quite illegal. It's probably not too dramatic to say that without the leaks, convincing many to buy the game at full price on day one, well, was going to be a much harder task. Number 6, The Last of Us Part 2. In April 2020, roughly 2 months before the release of The Last of Us Part 2, extensive gameplay videos were leaked online, spoiling what would ultimately be some of the game's most pivotal, let's just put it that way, story moments. This included the unexpected the death of Joel at the hands of Abby in the sequel's first few hours. And with many fans seeing the footage devoid of its ultimate context, an air of disdain was created before the game had even come out. Many were frustrated by Joel's death, directed their ire at Naughty Dog on social media in a deeply toxic and hateful way, ensuring the well of discourse was firmly poisoned before the game was even in players' hands. Now, of course, there's nothing inherently wrong with being disappointed by a story's direction, but discussion about the game already skewed intensely negative prior to the release because of this leak, and so steering the conversation in a less vitriolic direction was definitely an uphill battle. Above all else, The Last of Us Part 2 was a staggering example of how leaks can irreversibly impact a game's reception. I mean, sure, Joel's death would have always been polarizing, but 2 months of fans raging about the leaked footage combined with social media's tendency to reward negativity, well, it ensured that the discourse was forever tainted by a tiresome air of anger. Number 5, the ESA data leak. Though E3 was once upon a time an ultra-exciting annual showcase for the next year's most anticipated games, the convention began its calamitous decline following its 2019 edition. You see, in August 2019, it was discovered that the website of the Entertainment Software Association, or ESA, who was the company behind E3, contained unsecured personal information of more than 2,000 press and influencers who attended the event, leaving them open to harassment from malicious parties. Though the ESA removed the data, further data of 6,000 attendees from prior E3s was then discovered and also scrubbed by the ESA. But this data leak marked a huge change in perception of E3 as an event, with some members of the press reporting unwanted phone calls and even death threats. So distrust in E3 and ESA was now at an all-time high. And this was really the beginning of the end of the show. After E3 2020 didn't go ahead because of the pandemic, the virtual-only E3 2021 edition was largely panned, E3 2022, 23 and 24 were cancelled amidst dwindling publisher interest, and then the ESA finally announced that E3 was no more. While E3 would have always struggled to regain its footing following the pandemic, its massive reputation hit that it took from the data leak meant that the industry support behind it was now basically in the toilet, hammering one very large nail into its coffin in the process. It was kind of like a Dracula steak style nail. And so they were just like, bang, one in there and just went, whoa! Because E3 is a vampire now, in this metaphor. But it's dead now anyways, doesn't matter. Now, much as many missed the pageantry and splashy spectacle of E3 compared to its so-so replacement of the Summer Games Fest, the ESA mostly has themselves to blame for this demise. Number 4, Mass Effect 3. Now, Mass Effect 3 was one of the most anticipated games of the 2010s, and in November 2011, some 4 months ahead of its release, a private beta was leaked online. Now, this contained a sliver of both the game's single-player and multiplayer modes, but far more concerningly, players sifted through the code and found a full script, and elements of which caused considerable concern among the fan base. This led BioWare to actually rejig parts of the script in the final months of development, such as removing an opening sequence in which Commander Shepard is on trial for destroying the Alpha Relay in Mass Effect 2's Arrival DLC. The list of changes between the leaked script and the final game is comprehensive, and while we can't say for sure that all of these changes were due to the leaks, BioWare openly stated at the time that they listened to fan feedback and acted accordingly. Didn't listen too much though, because that bloody ending was still there, wasn't it, mate? It was still there. You were just there like, we'll change all of this, but we want to keep the pick your own colour, the Simon Says. That's the bit that all of this was leading up to. Forget your space opera, mate. Pick a colour and die. Oh dear me. Long story short, absolute clunker of an ending. We'll never really get over it, really, will we, as a people? Even so, to see a company rework a game's story in the final months of development due to a leak was basically unheard of at the time. Number 3, The Legend of Zelda Netflix series. Now, in extreme cases, a leak can piss off the higher-ups so much that they just end up cancelling the entire thing. And that's exactly what happened with Netflix's intended live-action series that was based on The Legend of Zelda. Now, way back in 2015, the Wall Street Journal reported that Nintendo and Netflix were partnering on an adaptation, which was described as Game of Thrones for a family audience. I mean, it's got a castle in it. I have no idea what The Legend of Zelda has with Game of Thrones. Like, You've just basically just gone, popular thing, medieval setting, it's about the same thing. It's about the same thing, yeah. They would have wanted my personal attention. They should have been like, it's Twin Peaks. This, for a family audience. That would have been sick. The Legend of Zelda, Twin Peaks. And it's just like, it's dangerous to go alone. But in 2021, Adam Conover of Adam Ruins Everything revealed that Netflix pulled the plug on the Zelda series after the Wall Street Journal article came out. Conover, who was working on a claymation Star Fox project, which was also cancelled at the same time, said that Nintendo freaked out when the leak happened, causing them to shut down all in-development adaptations. Now, while it's no secret that Nintendo is fiercely protective of their IP, it is wild that a Game of Thrones-esque, presumably mega-budget Zelda series was canned because of a leak. If it had gone ahead though, Nintendo presumably wouldn't have greenlit the 2027 Legend of Zelda movie that is currently in pre-production. Although, maybe we shouldn't talk about it because they might can that too. Number 2, Half-Life 2. Now, video game leaks simply do not get more insane than this one. In October 2003, mere months before Half-Life 2 was due to be released, the game's source code was leaked online by a hacker, making an unfinished version of the game available to everyone. Now, the incomplete nature of the build caused significant backlash amongst the Half-Life fandom, which was already growing impatient waiting for the game's release, and far worse, it massively damaged morale at developer Valve, causing development to further slow down. Ultimately, Half-Life 2 was finally released in November 2004 to universal acclaim, while the hacker Axel Gemb was arrested as part of an FBI sting operation and sentenced to 2 years probation. Beyond demonstrating how utterly devastating a leaked build can be to a developer in the final stretch of making the game, it also caused Valve and other developers to seriously beef up their internal security. I mean, this is the thing, we've had to beef up security here because I don't want the code being leaked for Big Pidge's Cross the Street Kart Racing. It's a game in which you just race back and forth across a single street. There might be some bugs to work out in it, but you know what? I've beefed up the security. I've put 2 cats now. I've got Sagan here in his post. Never leaves it, man. You try getting through this door, he's gonna meow at you. You don't want that. And then the beef is like free roaming. She's just around, like a ninja. You'll be looking at him, he'll be meowing. Boom, she hits you. Hits you with a little leg rub. You don't want that. Do not come to my house and try and steal my code. Should probably write some code at some point. Additionally, Valve instituted a new rule that journalists would have to attend their office in person to demo games that they were then working on. And number 1, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 was an episodic sequel to Sonic & Knuckles, which began its rollout in 2010. But the lead up to its release left fans anything but convinced. Beyond the sorry state of the Sonic IP at the time, a prototype version of Episode 1 was leaked onto the Xbox 360's game testing service PartnerNet months before its release, causing screenshots and videos to be widely shared online. And the fan response was dire, with many criticising the rough physics and level designs that looked like they'd come from mobile platforms, and it just felt that it wasn't worthy of the Sonic 4 moniker. Sega responded by delaying Episode 1 for several months to address fan concerns, such as replacing the mobile exclusive levels on consoles. But while the critical response was ultimately passable, fans largely still hated this game. The negativity continued into Episode 2, which finally came out in 2012, and while deemed a mild improvement, was still largely panned by players. The sustained hatred for Sonic 4 from fans ever since that initial leak ultimately led Sega to scrap a planned Episode 3. But this also had a rather unexpected outcome. You see, developer Christian Whitehead, who was originally offered to work on Episode 3, instead went on to develop remasters of the first 2 Sonic games, leading him to get the job of directing Sonic Mania a few years later. And as we all know, Sonic Mania became the best reviewed Sonic game in 15 years and remains a major high point for the franchise. And yet, we probably wouldn't have it without the leak that kneecapped Sonic 4's reputation right out of the gate, in turn setting Whitehead on a totally different path. So, thanks? And we've still got some rubbish Sonic 4 games, but thanks? Sonic Mania kicks ass! And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 video game leaks that changed everything. I hope that you enjoyed that, and let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below, and put your suggestions for next week's episode down there as well. I love to read them, my friends. But if you want to chat to me in the meantime on the social medias, you can go over here where I'm at RetroJ, but the O is a 0 on both Instagram and Blue Sky. And you can follow my lovely and ever patient editor, Sai, over on her social medias over here. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. And it's not a leak, really. This is not a spoiler, a special bit of content. You knew this was coming. I'm right here for you, my friend, and it is just a little message from me to you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're treating yourself with love and respect, because you deserve the bloody best, all right? And do not let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise. You deserve love, happiness, and success. We all do as human beings out here, all right? So go out there and smash it, because I believe in you, and you need to believe in yourself as well. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.